Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Curious You podcast. I'm Nina, and this is a space where we talk about courage, curiosity, and the moments that change the entire trajectory of our lives. Today's conversation is one I've been really looking forward to. You might know today's guest from the hit Netflix documentary, The Tinder Swindler, where her story actually reached millions of people around the world. But I don't want to introduce her as a victim of scam. I actually want to introduce her as a woman who decided that her story was not going to end in shame and silence. Pernilla Sjöholm is a businesswoman, a mother, and a powerful voice for women's safety and empowerment. Instead of disappearing, she chose to stand up, speak out, and use one of the most painful experiences of her life to protect and inspire others. That takes an enormous amount of courage. And in this episode, we'll talk about what really happened behind the headlines, the emotional aftermath, and most importantly, and what I really want to focus on, is how she turned this experience into a mission to help women all over the world trust themselves again and reclaim their power. So, if you're listening and if you've ever felt ashamed of a choice you made, or if you're in the middle of rebuilding your life or business from a tough chapter, this conversation is for you. So, Pernilla, welcome to the show. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for the introduction, Nina. Makes me feel a little jingly, happy that I actually have accomplished something from what
Of
I have been through.
course. Of course you have. And actually, before we dive into everything that happened and that you've accomplished, I would actually love to start with you. So let's say if somebody was to meet you for the first time now, how would you like to introduce yourself?
God, that becomes a bit tricky to be fair. But I am Pernilla Sjöholm. I am the business owner of the company Identifier, which is an identity verification platform peer to peer. But it depends on what room, if we meet privately or if we meet through
Yeah.
business or like what the atmosphere is really about. But I do bring up the Netflix documentary as well, because that is a little bit what put me and my storyline for the company itself. So, but if we would meet privately, I would probably not bring it up.
No, for sure not. None of us would. But maybe let's go back to before everything began. Who were you before the Tinder swindler? Who was Pernilla Sjöholm back then?
I feel Pernilla Sjöholm back then, she was very impulsive. She was loving life. She was traveling around a lot. I had just recently become single. This was the year of 2018. I had been in a relationship for 8 years. So I was just, yeah, people like I was feeling good after the breakup and I wanted to start dating it again. And I was really loving life, to be fair. Business was going great and I was just having the time of my life, really. So I was at an amazing place in life. Normally you would think, like with this story as well, is that you will be in a very bad place, but I truly wasn't. I was quite happy.
I think that's the period of time where a lot of us, you're free, you're just traveling the world, you're in your 20s or early 30s, and you're just, open to all the experiences, which unfortunately sometimes do end up in bad ways. But
Yeah.
so going back to the Tinder swindler and everything that happened to you, I don't want to go into a lot of details, but for the listeners who are not aware of what happened, could you guide us through a bit on what exactly happened there?
Absolutely. So the year was 2018, and I was just about to start dating again. And of course, the most natural way, or at least back then, was to meet through dating apps.
Yeah.
Dating apps didn't really existed in the year 2010, the last time I was single. So I was very new to the atmosphere. And I remember I was matching up with yeah, some other fellows, and then one of them was this man, Simon, as well, who was in Stockholm, and from his profile, he seemed to travel a lot as well, which I sort of appreciated because I wanted someone to like, yeah, experience the world with and be a little bit impulsive the same way as I was. So we started talking, and he wanted to meet up in Stockholm, but I couldn't due to I had plans. And then in the end of the evening, I remember tried to invite me to go to Barcelona with his private jet from
For the
Stockholm
first date.
for the first date. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but I did turn that down. Even though I was very impulsive, I wasn't that impulsive to jump on a plane with someone I never met. I do understand for someone who might have not had that opportunity or never been on a private jet or something, that that would be an experience that a lot of
It's in
people
a
would
lifetime.
maybe say yes to. I mean, like, it's
Right.
not that often you get maybe the opportunity to go on a private jet, and it is an experience. So, but I turned that down, and then we continued talking for about 2, 3 weeks. And I remember, like, we were having a lot of fun together. Like, I really enjoyed our conversations. So we booked up for me to go and see him in Amsterdam, where he lived. And my father had worked in the Netherlands for 4 years. I had a lot of friends in Amsterdam as well. So for me, it sort of felt like a safe space, because if it wouldn't turn out like a good date or someone I want to hang around with, I could just go and see my friends. So it wasn't the end of the day. Then I remember that the first time I saw him and the first time we met, I didn't get those like love butterflies that you're supposed to
Mm,
feel when you should
yeah.
be dating someone, but he was very good in connecting. So it definitely felt like after spending a day with him that I have known him for 10 years. You know, that like instant connection and the sort of like, if it would have been love, it would have made more sense maybe, because we grown up with Disney, or at least I
Right.
am.
Oh, yeah.
And we're supposed to, like when we meet that person, it should be that instant connection.
Butterflies and everything magical.
Yeah, which is normally the biggest red flag ever when it comes
Yeah.
to dating. So Disney definitely defrauded an entire generation in a lot of levels.
Yeah, for sure.
But we turned out as friends and really good friends from what I believe. And then it took about 8, 9 months. And through this period of time, there were so many events happening that not all of them didn't even cover in the documentary. But I met friends, I met colleagues, I met like childhood friends, and people who had been working with him for many many years. And I mean, I had seen documents. He was very good in doing this like tricky things, like, oh, I just have to take a call and then go into the other room, so you would hear him, but not as you should actually listen into the call. Or like, oh, would you mind like grabbing me the cup of coffee, like by the counter or something? And there he would have documents like stamped with the company and everything.
Oh my God.
And he even had his assistant sending me voice messages, and it was just like a theatrical
So it was
show.
like a full-blown business to cover up
Full-blown
everything.
business, a lot of people involved, and it was just a big theater show. So when the end of the day, we're coming in to 8 months later, he sends me some news articles from Israel. These are real news articles. So he had claimed to be Simon Leviv of the Leviv Diamond Company in Israel. So he sends me several news outlets where his uncle had been arrested at the airport for diamond smuggling or something. And it was a big thing. And one of the employees, she had jumped from the office building and died. And these are real stories. Like, it's not fake. So I did look up everything that I thought I possibly could. And he said, due to these instances, they have blocked my accounts and I need to like go and take the business meeting and fix my stuff, because this is a setup. He said, it's not real. Like, it's a diamond business. It's just how it goes. This is how we do against each other. And I was like, okay, maybe that's true. I don't know. So, but he made it like a threat as well.
Yeah.
Like, they know my closest circle and you are one of them. And I just don't want anything happening to you. So he asked then to borrow money from me. And then I was like, "Ugh, I really don't want to do this, but who am I as a friend?" And he was also a lot of the times using this, well, people loves to be around when it's sunshine, but never when it rains. And I could
Yes.
sort of resonate with that I
Yeah.
had been taken advantage of a lot when things were going good in life, and not that many people being around when things maybe wasn't going that good. So he definitely know like where to push
Which
the
button to
buttons.
push, yeah.
Yes. And of course, when you're looking into your safety, then it's like, okay, but what is my money worth compared to my friend or even my own security. And for your own security, you can't really put a price on it, to be fair. So, of course, I got scared for myself and my friends. So I ended up borrowing him the first round 25,000 euro, and then it just kept going. So it ended up with me getting defrauded. I actually haven't even want to go in and look into the real details, but somewhere around 50 or 60,000 euro, I would
Wow.
say.
Wow. And what did he use that money for? What was he doing with all that money that he was receiving
He
from?
needed travel to look up account, go to business meetings, and then things just like didn't turn out the way they were supposed to. And I did get a hunch that something was wrong. So I was starting to think that, hey, maybe this guy is actually a fraudster.
When was the first
So
time that you asked yourself?
like, maybe a short time after Christmas, like, before I found out that he actually was a fraudster. So, I took the documents that he had done, like, a payment towards me to pay me back, but it just never arrived. And then I had the
Right.
assistant sending me voice messages and like, "Oh, I talked to the bank," and, but still, I just got a gut feeling that something is wrong. So, I took my
Yeah.
documents, went in with them to the bank, and I was like, "Hey, can you look this up? Because I've been waiting for this transfer and I just want to see if anything's wrong. Like,
Right.
is there something wrong with this?" So they even take the paperwork I'm giving them in the bank, they send it up to the headquarters, get back to me and say, "No, everything is fine and everything is like
What?
it should be. It could just take a little bit longer time." And of course, I trust my bank. So
No.
then
That's
doing that,
terrible.
I felt super guilty. I was like, I mistrusted my friend for being a fraudster, and, like, I felt
No.
so bad. I felt really bad, so, of course, that ended up with me lending him more money,
Right.
and then it turned out that that wasn't correct information that they gave me. They said, like, "We can't even see this. I don't know who told you that."
So the document was that well forged that even the bank couldn't see that it was a fake document.
Well, apparently they say that they look different at all different banks in all different countries, so they can't really tell. I think like with the AI technology today, maybe
Yeah.
you can actually implement that, but this was 2018, 2019. But I wouldn't even trust my bank to implement
No.
technology in the right
Yeah.
type of way. So even if it exists, it doesn't mean that they use it because
Yeah,
it
no.
costs them money
Don't
and they
trust the
don't like
banks.
yeah, never trust the banks, no.
Lesson
But
learned.
Scandinavia in general, like in Sweden, we are a very trusting
Yeah.
country towards like our jurisdiction and everything. There is not that much like corruption here in my country where I live.
Yeah.
So then I got contacted by a news reporter reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, we believe that you might have been in contact with this fraudster and we're doing deep dive investigation into him." So that's when everything
Take us
started
back to that
spiraling.
moment. Where were you when you received that call, and how did you feel at that moment?
Oh, gosh, I was at a work fair, so, like, the worst place possible to stand and look professional, someone just giving you the news that you lost your life savings, your life is over, and just, like, I really just want to go and jump from a bridge. Like, I just felt so betrayed, like, it wasn't even just about the money, it was the betray that was the worst, and that thinking back and like, "Hey, I've been sitting at a dinner with, like, 6 people, and everyone has been there to defraud me and destroy my life." Like, it's just, like, a very
Yeah.
strange
My God.
feeling to have. Um, so it was just a million things going through my mind. But I thought, "Hey, easy piece of cake. I'm gonna get this guy arrested," because I was like, if he'd done this towards me and then I found out how many other people he have done this towards too, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be the last. If you can't get him, like, I am the person who can make the impossible possible." So I was just like, "Just watch me." So I thought that I would get him arrested, like, within a week. He is still not arrested for the crimes he
I
committed
saw
towards me.
that. I was very surprised. We're gonna dig into
Yeah,
that as well. I'm very, very shocked that
yeah.
he's arrested.
So, yeah, long story. I think you just have to go in and watch the documentary, but that's when everything started spiraling. Me and Cecilia jointly did that news piece in Norway. We took that news piece, and I just decided that I would be the last person who'd done this towards. So just took the news piece and then I just sent it out to every news station existing in Europe and like all the big cities, all the biggest news outlets. So I think I just sent it out like 100 emails, like spreading the news piece. Yeah, because I also blackmailed the the Norwegian magazine to do the piece in English to give them the information.
And
And
but
then it's
you
the
weren't
first.
scared. You weren't scared that he might do something to you.
Of course, he put a death threats against me. He said he paid a price on my head. I got protected identity. I mean, for me, I can only sleep good at night if I know that I have done everything that I possibly could. And as well, like I'm a very caring person. I love helping people. Like I feel good about helping others. So for me, it was sort of like a mission as well.
It became
So
bigger
yeah,
than you.
yeah, definitely. And then the news piece just went viral. Then that's how the Tinder Swindler, the documentary was born. Me and Cecilia got reached out by an agent in the US, and then we sold the life rights. But my mission from like back then was like, oh, I'm gonna get him and his team caught, and he gonna stand charged for what he have done. Transformed into before going in and doing the documentary to actually want to do something to help others in similar situations. Because what I realized was the lot of hate that I got back in 2018, 2019, it was like, this is not even a real crime, is what I understood. It was like you were treating fraud victims like it is your own fault.
Who was
And
treating fraud victims like that?
so, as a fraud victim, you're very often blamed that this is your own fault and you
All
should
right, yeah.
blame yourself. And it is not really a real crime. It was even hard for people to report the crime to the police. They didn't even see it as a crime. So, yeah, it just spiraled into from focusing to him to try and changing now today, even the laws, and just really try to make a change in how we view victims and take away the victim shaming and the victim blaming and put pressure on police and law enforcement and just spreading the word. But for me, it was just so important because I couldn't, it was very hard to find anyone who just showed their face and their real voice. Everyone was just hiding in darkness. And I was like, why is this crime that you are the one who's supposed to be hiding? So I just felt like even if I was gonna be run over by a bus with hate, I just felt that it was worth it. Good to give people a voice who didn't dared that voice.
Okay.
No, so that just transformed, and then the Tinder Swindler was released 2022, and that's when, yeah, I don't know, just felt like my entire life just become public, and I wasn't prepared for it to be that big. It did turn up to be Netflix most watched documentary of all time. Like all
Yeah, I
these
saw
celebrities
that.
were doing
Wow.
memes, and it just went so crazy that I feel even now, if someone says to me, "Oh, how like didn't you think that the story he gave or like all that you experienced that was a bit strange?" I would say like the aftermath was even more strange. So
Yeah.
if someone asked me what's the most surrealistic story you ever lived through, that is like almost the Tinder Swindler getting released and the aftermath of it, because that I felt like this is insane. This is not
But how did you feel?
normal.
I guess you had a lot of media attention and, people looking at your life. I can't even imagine how it must feel because it wasn't this, step by step process that was happening. It was basically overnight. Am I right?
Yeah, it was. I didn't really feel like for the first 3 weeks, I was basically locked in my house and I was just doing interviews because, especially, I was in Sweden doing a lot towards the US. So I could maybe finish at like 2 a.m., 1 a.m. or something, and then go to bed and then start at 9 o'clock in the morning again. Yeah, but I think it was like the aftermath. I remember traveling over to LA and doing some interviews and stuff, and then I just got hunted down by like paparazzis and think people like people come up to you more there than they do up here in the Nordics. So for me, that was like quite a shock. I was
Yeah.
like, gosh, this really turned out big.
Yeah.
Um,
And you
but
didn't
I really
expect it would when you were filming the
no.
documentary.
I had no idea that it would be as big. I mean, like, I'm happy for it because it did put a face. Everyone started talking about romance fraud, you know? So and fraud in general, and how come these bad guys or bad women can get away with it.
Yeah.
So I think we really started talking about it in a different type of level, and also showing the emotion and the abuse against as well. Yeah, no, I definitely felt like we started the roller coaster and trying to make a change, and that's where I still am today, fighting to make a change in the world and trying to make it a little bit better, that police will take up and actually do something, because fraudsters, it is the most lucrative business out there. I mean, like
Yes.
99% of the cases, they do get away with it.
Yeah. And how
Um,
many women were impacted by that? Do you know?
by him and his team, I don't know. I know at least like 20, 30. But I
Wow.
think that something that wasn't covered in the documentary is that they did this not only towards women, it was men. And it was company fraud as well. I mean, he had one company fraud for a private jet company for $850,000. He had another private jet company for, like, I think it was 350,000 pounds. And then also a lot of men as well. But I felt like a little bit after the documentary, they got like the incel community with him. They're like, great man, you have done towards women what women have done towards us for years. You are a buddy, you know? And so after the documentary, most of his victims have been men, like this
That's
like
okay.
incel
I've never heard
community.
that because I've seen a documentary and I read about it, but I've never seen this piece of information anywhere. That's
No, that's like,
brutal.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's very hard to cover everything. I mean, like everything from my
Yeah.
storyline is not covered as
And but
well.
how was he not arrested then?
So complicated. What he did was like to cover a lot of cases around Europe, and then it becomes complicated to sort of make them a joint case. You would say that that is better within EU. It actually makes it more complicated, because if you're going to if he gets prosecuted in an EU country, we are allowed to bring the other cases from other EU countries to that country. So he doesn't have to travel around and maybe do 8 different type of courts. So what prosecutor want to do that and spend money on that case to build that case? It becomes very big and very complicated. And that's how he sort of got away with it. And also that people don't
Yeah.
care about fraud. They don't see it as the bigger picture. I will try not to go in as deep now, but just so people understand why this is such an important subject, is that a lot of the cases is not like mine. Maybe it comes from a criminal organization, from a fraud compound that mostly have been operating in Asian countries before. It is spreading up towards in Europe right now. And it's
Really?
very common that these are human trafficked people who are forced to commit fraud, and the money goes to criminal organizations to found wars, to found narcotics, and I mean they even kill people, sell their organs. Like, it is a very serious matter. So where this money goes to, that is the big problem. So
Yeah.
it's not just the civil person's own problem. It fuels a whole other type of criminal organizations around in the world. So it is a serious subject. Last year, we lost $3.03 trillion to fraud.
Mhm. In
And
Europe,
these now in the world,
in the world. Okay. Wow.
over $3 trillion.
Wow. That's a lot of money going
So
into fraud.
it's
I
a
had no idea.
lot of money. And just imagine that 99% get away with it. So no wonder that this is a lucrative business. But it's also the human impact. And what I felt a lot when also had other victims reaching out to me, that isn't done with my fraudsters, but just in general, is that it is the deceit or the heartbreak, maybe, or the trust that you have given someone that has been broken.
Yeah.
And we don't talk so much about the suicide rates when it comes to fraud, but it's high, and it's very hard to find studies there, and the mental abuse that you put someone to
True.
go through this, because also what they do normally is They normally say that they're in another time zone when they wanna talk with you, so they sleep disturb you to mentally break you down so you're more easily manipulative.
So you don't
So,
sleep
like,
well
they can
enough.
manipulate you. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So
wow.
and then maybe they target you after a divorce. It's also very common for someone who's maybe recovering from cancer or who is sick. So that is like the most common place that you are a little bit broken even before. So it's more easier to totally break you
That is
down.
brutal. That is brutal, and your mission is so courageous. I have no words, honestly, because that topic is really not talked about. I haven't heard anybody talk about this topic. The data that you just gave me, I heard it for the first time, and I can imagine other
Yeah.
people. So this is incredible. But I would love to go with you behind the scenes, maybe when you were talking about the mental state. So if you can talk a bit about your transition going from that place of darkness into rising up and figuring out that you will be the one who will rise for other women and whose mission will be to bring awareness on this topic.
Well, I always felt a lot in life, and I think that maybe this is why I got defrauded from the beginning, is that I want everyone to be as happy as I am or was. I think like old Pernilla died a bit and then I have been reborn. But I just wanted everyone to be as happy as I was. So I enjoyed like helping others. I go to bed and sleep well if I help others, if I can be there, if I can give good advice or yeah, just help you move forward in life and in general. That's just who I am as a person. But like I said before, it was just really important to me. I remember having the last conversation with Simon, and I just wanted to be brave, even though he was putting death threats on me. And I was just so mad at him. I was like, don't try and jump up on a high horse because I will go up on a giraffe and I will fucking crush you down. So I do feel I sort of hold that promise. Like, I do think the entire of the world knows that he's a fraudster right now and definitely made his life much more difficult. But I think as well, like, I sort of enjoy like putting that possibility, towards people that, well, you can get away with this. You might end up in a fucking Netflix documentary about it. Like, you don't know. Like, where I think, and people are more exposing these fraudsters today than what we did back then.
Yeah.
Because that was their tool to like put shame on you. And if everyone else puts shame on you, you are not going to report it to the police even. So they will easily get away with it. And I sort of feel like after making the documentary that I have more people reaching out now and just saying, hey, I got defrauded, but I have gathered around with all the other victims and we go into the police and we are doing this, that people are really fighting back. And I love that.
Yeah.
And also to let people know that you are not the strongest alone. The best thing you
No.
can do is like share, talk with people. And for me, doing the documentary was the best way to like that's when I was feeling good again with myself, like going through that entire process. So like the deep diving into the story even before pressing record. So I say the best therapist I have met is like Bernadette Higgins and Felicity Morris, who did the documentary. Like they
Yeah.
literally
Wow.
saved my life. And then also after the release of the documentary, I had my two kids.
Yes,
So
I saw that. So cute.
yeah.
Twins, right?
Yeah, twins. They're turning 3 in January, so they're like my love of my life, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? They're just my everything. So I just feel like I want to create a safe and good world for them, for their
Yeah.
future as well.
I think having that opportunity to actually be in a Netflix documentary was sort of like having a therapist, right? Because it allowed you to keep talking about it. Because a lot of times when something like this happens, people run away from looking at the truth and from facing all the emotions. And I guess in your case, you had to face it up front. You had to keep reliving sort of what
Yeah.
happened to you and not only what happened to you, but the emotions behind it, whether it was anger or shame or sadness. And I think it's
Yeah.
the best psychological trick as well when something like this happens is to not run away from everything. And that is exactly what you did. And I guess life rewarded you with two kids and a beautiful family that you have now because you didn't run away from yourself. You actually used it.
No. But I think you always have to cut. So my option was either you give up on life
Yeah.
and you just lay flat dead and you just give up, or you just have to stand up, fight 100 times harder than you ever done ever before in your life. And that is the way that I took. But it's not like my life is super easy all the time either. Like it's still rough. I still have to wake up when things are feeling shit some days and just things are very, very hard. I mean, I just got the news this Friday that Simon was released from Georgia from prison. And I mean, to come with that and constantly have to fight with my criminal getting out,
Yeah.
getting away with stuff, and just have to come to realization that this is what I'm gonna be abused with, maybe for the rest of my life or until he dies,
Yeah,
because he
once you're
will never
right.
change. Yeah, and he never have to take any real like consequences for what he done. Just like short times in prison. Now he spent 10 weeks in prison in Georgia. And then that was the plea deal with Germany, and I was hoping for 10 years, you know? So
And are you
uh
still scared that, he might do something to you or to the other victims, or you don't have that anymore?
no, definitely not. He's so scared of me, so I just find it
Really?
funny. Yeah, I've taken that power across that little incel. No, 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 no. Like, I'm not scared of him at all, but I had years where I, of course, was. I took down, like, I shut down his bank accounts. Like, I really went after him. I put his name and his face out there. Like, he ended up in a hostel after what I did towards him. This is a guy who lived a luxury lifestyle in private jets.
Yes, I
Like, and
saw
he,
that.
like, he didn't
Hats
even
off.
have money
Hats off, girl.
have money for food. So, I mean, of course, I was feeling a bit scared that him and his team were coming after me after having $1 million scheme.
Yeah.
So, but today, no, I have all that power. So after the documentary, I was starting to doing talks around in the world. In up into the point to when I got pregnant and wasn't allowed really to travel that much,
Yeah.
and then I took 1.5 years break. During that time, during that break, I was doing a lot of like similar to this, like digitally and towards schools and young school children in the age of like between 13 and 15. Like I love helping the young
Oh, I love that.
generation. So, and
So
they
you went to
always so
schools and gave lectures, or?
yeah, exactly. And then they were allowed to like ask questions. And then I would always ask them a question back. And my question would always be, do you interact with strangers online? And I would have 90 to 95% of the class raising their hands. And that just really scared me. And then I was started thinking, going back with my own story, because I got a lot of blame for not understanding that the Simon guy, that it was his false identity, that his real name was Shimon Yehuda Hayut. And I was just, what else could I have done? So I checked his social media. He had verified social media. He had, I met his friends. I met employees. I met business partners. I have seen documents. I've seen emails. Like, I have been checked into the same hotel as this guy. I have been on flights, you know. I was like, what else could I have done? You can't really send out a private detective to every new
Yeah.
person that you meet. It's like, it's not realistic. You can't do that. So then I reached out to by a lecturer here in Sweden at one of the technology universities that said that he had seen the documentary. He wanted to chat with me and see a little bit what we can do to actually tackle this problem. So I was like, hey, let's go. So that is a little bit how my company was founded, which is Identifier, that is an identity verification app for peer to peer. So we can safely identify each other.
How does that work?
So basically, what we do is that the safest way and how we only can, there is no other possible way besides doing this. So what we need is to scan your NFC chip in your passport,
Mm-hmm.
collect that data. Everything is encrypted. We don't store anything. We don't save anything. So no one have to be worried that we steal your data
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that. It's the same process that you have to do when you check into a hotel
Mm-hmm.
or when you check into your airline.
Right.
So you just have to trust us
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the same thing as your airline.
Yeah.
So we collect the data and then we do a liveness biometric check with your face. So we can also make sure that it's not a deep fake video or anything that or stolen a password. And from there, we can verify your identity. If you do a lower level than that, there is no way that we can truly say this is the real person. So Meta is lying to you. It doesn't work that way. It
Mm.
is false. We can only guarantee that you're human and your real photo is matching the photo that you have on your ID card, for example.
So how would
So
this, for example, help you in the situation which you were in a couple of years ago in
So
20?
if when I was dating back then, what I easily could have done was just send an identification link. So everything is mutually. So and you can also decide what you want to share. So let's say, for example, I would be single and I would go on a date. I
Mm-hmm.
would maybe just want to share that my name is Pernilla and I'm 38. Maybe nothing more. I wouldn't want to share my last name or any more information. So when both people have identified or identified inside of the app, that's when it's mutually shared. So it's not like you sending over information and not getting anything back. And that is the same information you would get back. But let's say, for example, I'm renting out my apartment to someone. I would want more than just their first name and their age. I maybe want their social security number, maybe want where you come from and all that data. And that's as well mutually shared. So you don't rent an apartment for someone who have just had it on Airbnb and then, trying to scam you. But what I say today, and especially out talking on these cybersecurity events, is that deep fake have become so good today. We live in a technology revolution. Technology have never moved this fast ever in entire history. Laws can't catch up to the fast pace of technology. So even now, when you and me doing this um, podcast, for example, it's very easy to spoof my email. Spoof my email means that someone would copy my email and make it look like it's my email address, and it would look that you get the email from me.
From you.
Set that podcast up, for example, and then they just do deepfake, copy my voice and my face. And they could just go in and say the most outrageous things to destroy my name, for example. So, I mean, and even for companies, I say that it's not only for being defrauded on money, it could also be collecting sensitive company
Yeah.
information from the companies as well. It's definitely needed. I mean, even Solomon Altman have went out and said that this is the new thing. We need to process this. So I feel definitely very proud and that we are in the right phase where we need to do this in all type of interactions. It's very easy, even people getting phone calls from what they believe are their children.
Yeah, I heard that.
And it's just a voice cloning. And people would think like, oh, that's not going to happen. It's not that normal.
It
It
doesn't happen
is.
to me, right?
Of course, but it's so normal and it's so common today. So I think we just have to we need to normalize identity verification. And I do feel that maybe last year I felt that we were a bit early. Now I feel we're right on time.
Yes.
So, and I believe that we really can make a huge impact because if you look at the statistics, if we go back to fraud and not collecting company information or like make sure that the kids or even like teenagers are talking to another teenager and not a predator. But if we're going back and looking at fraud numbers, we would say that 60 to 70% of fraud cases involve a fake identity. So imagine if people would use this app and we could take down, let's even say 50% of a $3 trillion fraud industry. Like we would save not only money, we would save so many lives. And that is what truly, truly matters to me. So
And
I
have you
just feel like
found any, I mean, I don't know in which phase of business your identifier is in, but have you found any fake identities yet through the app, or you're still in the beginning?
we're not, I mean, it is only when you go in and do the identity verification. So if someone doesn't do it, then they most likely is not their real identity. So we can only verify a real identity. It's not like you can create a
Okay.
fake
Okay, understood.
identity. Yeah. So that is what makes your platform very, very secure. So it's a separate app for all your
Yeah.
digital interactions. Let's say you're buying that toaster on Facebook
Yeah.
Marketplace, you can make sure that it is a real person. So most likely, if it is a scam or a fraud, they will use a fake identity. Not all of the cases, so it doesn't take it all away, but a lot of the cases.
As inspiring the world we live in is, it's also a bit scary with considering everything that's happening with deep fake and all of those videos. Just at the web summit, actually, where and how you and I connected,
Yeah.
we had a booth, my husband and I, with for our company, and next to us there were two boys. They were 17 years old, 17 years old, and they had their own startup. And what they were doing is that they created a software which identifies a deepfake video. And to attract people to come to their booth, they created a game where you play and you guess which video is a fake and which one is the original version.
Oh, I
And
love
it's
that.
safe to say that I couldn't guess. Like, I maybe guessed one or two top, but they
Yeah.
looked so good. They looked so professional. They looked so real life. Like, for example, there was a video which has, I think, 1 million views on YouTube where a woman is snowboarding and she's being chased by a bear. And the title
Yeah.
of the YouTube video is Woman Snowboarding Chased by a Bear. And it's like 1 million views or 1.5 million. And it's a fake video. It's not
Yeah.
even a real video.
I
And
talk a lot about like fake news and stuff like that as well, that I think that we haven't had a law implemented where we really have to put a clear AI mark on these type of videos. So they're very easily spread, and sometimes it's spread as real news when it's really isn't. So I talk a lot about we humans need to deactivate our brain to not trust what we see and hear anymore, because we live so much through the digital space as well, that and that's very hard for us to process and to deal with what is real and what isn't. So I it is so important to have this type of tools and really understand, because a year ago we would have seen the difference. And even me now, like I could look at a video and it's like, hey, this is
this
deepfake.
is,
And
yeah,
I go into the comments section, it's like people don't understand that this is a
yeah.
deepfake.
Honestly, Pernilla, I love what you're doing. It's so relevant, and I think it will be even more and more relevant as years go by. But when I'm listening to you explaining all of these things and everything that you do, and the lectures that you give, and the mission that you have, and the community you're building, I keep thinking, how do you manage it all? Like, you're a mom, right? You have two kids. How do you manage all of these things? How do you organize your time? And most importantly, do you have time for yourself?
Not really. Not right now.
Very honest.
No,
I love it.
I do work and I spend time with my family. I don't have much spare. Christmas is coming up soon. I'm gonna take a couple of weeks and just spend time with family, maybe take some me time. But I honestly, I used to say like before I liked my job, and it's not that I wish this experience on anyone else, but what I did and what I created after with my experience is that I love my job today. So it doesn't even feel like I am,
King.
it does feel that I'm working, but not in that way, because I love what I'm doing and I love going out, meeting industry people, like talking to you, like hearing about these companies and feel that we are moving forward. But it's also like trying to build a solution to work that will never really work. Like scams and fraud have existed since the human being started existing. So it's not that we can totally remove it, but I feel we definitely have to make it better and just try and work as much as
Very
possibly
true.
can, but also trying to give out inspiration that doesn't have to be that you resonate with a fraud story, because you can maybe have a lot of problems resonating with a fraud story because you're happily married. Like you don't go out on dates. You wouldn't meet a romantically involved scammer, for example, online, but maybe you can resonate with shopping online.
Yeah.
And then maybe your card can get hacked. Like you need to resonate with something that also feels close to you, or maybe a company scam if you run a business and have
Hmm.
and enter that, like those type of trials. So we also have to work a lot with like spreading the awareness. But when I'm at these like fraud conferences and stuff, we always talk about um everyone needs to do more. So for example, it's not solely the bank's responsibility, it's not solely mine. It's not solely the police or the government. It's not everyone's fault or their responsibility. Like we all have to do something. So we people in the community need to do more. We at the banks need to take some more responsibility as well because they are the one handling your money as well. The laws need to be better and the governments need to do more. So it's just we all have to sort of do our part. And I feel I'm trying to chip in for my part.
Sure.
I always meet so many fascinating people like you, Nina, or like I
Yeah.
hear about this company that you're talking about,
Yeah.
or like I always meet so many passionate and
Yeah.
driven and
It's an
very cool.
inspiring playground to say the least, for sure. Especially if you
Definitely.
build with purpose. I feel like
Yes.
you can build a business, but if you don't love it, if there's no purpose behind it, it's going to be very hard because I'm pretty sure you know yourself that entrepreneurship is very, very hard, especially being a mom. Like, and I always say, if I'm going to do business, if I'm going to be away from my kids, I better love it. I better
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
what I'm doing. Otherwise, there's no sense. There's no sense whatsoever.
No, and I always say as well, like with my story, I lost what I believe was a very good friend of mine, but I did gain another. So Cecilia in the documentary, she just released Love Con Revenge on Netflix as well, where she's out hunting fraudsters in the US. It's
Oh,
great.
really? I haven't watched it.
Yeah, it's amazing. You have to go in and watch it. It's
I will
so
watch it.
good. I love it. No,
What is
but I
she
mean,
doing now?
so she did the Love Con Revenge TV series, and then she's also involved with called organization that also tries to support fraud victims in the UK. And then we just released a book together, Swindled Never
I saw
After, which
that.
is half
Very inspiring.
storytelling and then it is half factual. So it's very interesting for people to read. But no, so I did lose one friend, but I did gain another like best friend in life, and I don't know how to
Love
navigate
that.
my life in
Love
this world like without her. And we're always there for each other because she's the same as me, like very loving and caring and I could call her in the middle of the night if I want to. She always
love
answers
that.
and just like, "Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
What can I do?"
You're saying that she's loving and caring, and I guess that's the biggest advantage when it comes to you as a personality and to your friend as well. People who are willing to help and to love other people a little bit more than usually. And do you feel that is something that comes naturally to you now? Have you healed that part of yourself, or are you still very cautious when it comes to people?
Mm, I would say 50-50. I would say old version have died. I am still very loving and very caring, but I am very more cautious. Like I'm scared of like letting new people into my life. I don't have a problem with like socializing or meeting or bad getting someone like very close into like my soul that can still be quite like struggling that I maybe was more easy with
Yeah.
doing
But I think that's
before.
also part of growing up, right? I feel like the older we are, the more cautious and introverted
Yeah,
we are in
I
a
mean,
way.
like, it's still now, I'm 38, I have 2 kids, like, I'm a totally different person from
Yeah.
that, like, in my 20s or early 30s, you know? So, I'm not just an
No.
impulsive person. I'm not the one like, my friend used to call me, like, when I was in my 20s, like, "Hey, do you wanna come to dinner?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then I was going from Sweden to UK because the dinner was in London.
I love that.
So, it's like, now I'm like, "I need 3 months of planning."
Yeah. Yes.
August 5th, you know?
For sure.
So
Let's meet in 3 months.
yeah, a little bit like that.
Yeah.
But no, but, like I said, like, I love working, I love what I'm doing, and it is still so much work to do in this space, so
For sure, never-ending work. And for your kids, what would you want to teach them when they grow up? Do you have 2 girls, by the way, or is it a boy and a girl?
1 boy, 1 girl.
1 boy, 1 girl. What's the message that you want to leave them with everything that you've been through?
Like, be loving, but be cautious
Be
as
cautious.
well. I'm sort of scared for their generation growing up with all this technology, to be fair. I just, like, don't want them to be stuck in front of a screen in their future, you know? Just want to take a little bit like, nature has always been very healing for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just want them to feel grounded and safe
Yes. That's
and loved.
very relevant.
And know that mama loves them over everything.
I think that's what matters, and I think you will teach them the right way on how to love and how to live as well, and I think that's the part our
Yeah.
generations will play in the future as well, to sort of bring back, or not to bring back, but to mix AI and everything that it brings with a bit of that old life of playing
Yeah.
outside, being in the nature, and being off screen.
Yeah.
At least that's what I'm doing with everything that I'm creating. I wrote a children's book and I'm creating a program for kids
Oh,
on a new way of education, let's say it like that, not through theory, but through curiosity. And it's my biggest mission in life, really, to nurture and to help people keep that curiosity. So, Pernilla, I have one last question for you. And it's a
mhm.
question that I ask every guest on the podcast. So, if you were talking to a woman who wants to change her life around, who wants to do something for herself, who wants to go into entrepreneurship or simply make a big, scary decision, what would you tell her? What would you whisper in her ear?
Try to believe in yourself, but also don't be scared of failure. I think that I have went into several different projects as well that haven't went my way, and that is okay. But I wouldn't advise someone to like give. I could sometimes hear this like inspiration, like believe in yourself, you can do it, just put everything into it. No, I wouldn't say that because you have to be prepared that this might as well also fail, but as long as you have done your best and done everything you can, you will learn so much from that failure as well that you can become better for the next thing that you want to do. But entrepreneurship is very hard, very rough. It is not for everyone, but if you feel like you can do it, but make sure you also have good support system around you. I wouldn't been able to do it like without the support of my friends and family, to be
For
fair.
sure. I love that so much because that's literally, I was filming recording the podcast episode on the Web Summit last week.
Yeah.
And it was the first thing that I said because I was surrounded, like, how many people were there? 70,000, I think. And there were
Yeah.
so many entrepreneurs, and whoever I would talk to, all of them would say, like, oh, yeah, I started my business. I had 2 failed projects, 3 failed projects. It didn't work. But everybody was speaking in a way like, it's okay. It's not a big deal. You know, you go through it, you
Yeah.
fail, you get up, you continue. You fail, you get up, you continue. But you do have to have that mental strength behind it for sure to
Yeah.
be a different type of character, somebody who's a bit more stubborn than usual, a bit more obsessed, a bit more willing to do the hard things. But then again, when failure comes, to sort of just go through it and to keep being on your mission, not to
Yeah.
step
But
off.
I sometimes feel like when I talk with some other entrepreneurs as well, that maybe if you knew into, I can sometimes compare it with fraud because when you put a lot of money and a lot of energy into a project, it is very, very easily did not see how deep down you are going because then you were feeling like I put it all this time and all this money maybe into nothing. And then it's very hard to get out. So just to try and make sure as well that you don't put your entire life on debt or your entire like everything on the hold, that it is this or nothing. Because if you end up in that situation, you're gonna do a lot of stupid mistakes on the way as well because you will go into desperation and desperation is never good. So I wouldn't suggest anyone to like take up that house loan and just put you hear I don't know, like I read so many times, oh they just put it in like their entire life savings into the project and now it's worth millions of dollars, and it's like that's maybe 1 in a billion that
Yeah,
happens. So it's more common, most likely your business will fail than it actually will succeed.
for sure.
So
95%. They say 95% of businesses fail, 5%
yeah.
actually succeed. So that's quite
So
statistics.
yeah, good advice. Just like don't pour your entire heart and soul into it and everything you got, but not your entire finances, so
Love
you
it.
can't recover.
Love that. That's such a good advice. And I love how you're comparing it with fraud as well. You're really loyal to your mission. So there's everything symbolically spoken.
Yeah. But also
Pernilla,
do something that you love doing. If
yeah,
you go into like, oh, I'm just gonna make so much money out of this and don't love what you're doing, I don't feel maybe you will succeed, but I feel it's more unlikely. I think you really have to like have a lot of love to what you are doing as well.
for sure. For sure. Pernilla, thank you so much for your honesty, your courage, and for your willingness to let us see the human being behind everything that you went through. I'm truly humbled and really, really inspired by everything that we talked about here. And I will repeat again, what really moves me when it comes to you is not the story of what happened, but how you've used it to transform and to fix something that was broken and to become a voice for so many other people who are going through the same. And I think that, as you correctly said, it is only the beginning of these kind of topics and it will become more and more relevant. So thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. And for everyone listening, if this conversation resonated with you, please share it with a friend, a sister, a colleague, or someone who might need to hear that they're not alone and that their story doesn't have to end in shame. And if you enjoyed this episode, it means a lot if you leave a review or send me a message and tell me what landed for you. Thank you for tuning into the Curious You podcast. Stay curious, stay courageous, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.